Yo, what it is, you know what it is. It's your man, King Musa. Welcome to the Cheat Sheet, the podcast where we decode success from creators, professionals, and business owners. I'm your host, King Musa, and today we'll be exploring the creative world of fine arts and the vision behind it with a very special guest. We're thrilled to have Dr. Gary Wurtz, the Dean of Fine Arts at Stephen F. Austin State University, with us today. Dr. Wurtz has been pivotal in shaping the fine arts program at SFA. We're excited to hear about his journey and insight. Welcome, Dr. Wurtz.
Well, hello, Musa. I'm glad to be here with you today.
Yes, sir. No, thank you for taking the time out. Now, I don't want to get you in trouble, so we won't talk about the school. But as far as the arts themselves, which one is your favorite out of music, art, and theater and dance?
No, I don't have a favorite, and
Okay.
I mean that. Now,
Yes, sir.
I'm a musician.
Okay.
I was a trumpet player. I say was. Played trumpet for 50 years, but I kind of hung it up about 6 months ago, finally.
Okay.
But so my background, what brought me to SFA was music. I taught trumpet and jazz here for 24 years.
Yeah.
But my daughter is a visual arts major in college at another university. My wife and I go to plays.
Yeah.
Way before I was the dean of fine arts. We've enjoyed the theater. We've enjoyed visual arts. We enjoy music. I don't have a favorite. I enjoy all of them a lot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Okay.
I should have said dance. Oh, yeah, I like dance.
Could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your role as the dean of the College of Fine Arts?
Okay, so I'm Gary Wurtz, and like I said, I was in the School of Music for 24 years, where I taught. And then I became the director of the School of Music for about 5 years.
Yes, sir.
And then I became the dean of the College of Fine Arts, the Mickey Elliott College of Fine Arts. It's one of our endowed colleges. And I'm going into my 4th year as the dean, the first of which was as an interim for a whole year. So
Ooh.
This is the beginning of how old are you, Musa?
22.
I've been here 33 years.
Eee.
Yeah, way more than your whole life. Your life and 50% more.
Right.
And why is that? Well, because a long time ago I saw that this is a great place to be.
Yes,
this
sir.
is a terrific university that's always had a strong commitment to the fine arts.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that meant something to me. It's got a strong commitment to everything, to the students, to the faculty, to education. And I know those sound like kind of boilerplate answers, but it is what I thought. You know, in higher education, when you get into this as a professor,
Yes, sir.
your professors will tell you the only way you're ever going to make more money or whatever is to leave. Like you shouldn't stay somewhere too long. But
Interesting.
I saw years ago that this was where I wanted to be.
Yes, sir.
And I started early on deciding that I would, rather than look for the grass on the other side of the fence being greener, try to be a part of making the grass here a little greener. So I've always just tried to be part of a solution to problems here, whether it's with students or once I moved into administration as a director of the school or
Right.
as a dean, try to be somebody who's got the faculty in mind so they can go out on the front lines and be the kind of faculty students need.
Right.
So I don't know if I'm getting at what
No,
you want,
I
but
think it was.
that's the real me there.
Yes,
So,
sir. I appreciate that. Can you share some of your background about where you're from, and what led you to pursue a career in fine arts?
Okay. I'm from, as is my wife, we're both from Alamogordo, New Mexico.
New Mexico.
Yeah, so an interesting town that in many ways rivals Nacogdoches
Okay.
in that each of them, Alamogordo and Nacogdoches, are only cities in the world with their names. There's some trivia for you.
Right.
So, and it was a
Alamogordo.
town of about the same size as Nacogdoches, and its economy revolved around a local Air Force base. And
Okay.
just like around here, the university means so much. So in many ways, similar kind of living situations. But I played trumpet, started in 6th grade,
Yes, sir.
and it was something that I was good at.
Mhm.
I wasn't ever great at sports. I liked them, but I wasn't good at it. And but it was the first thing I ever did that I was kind of better than most of the other kids at. So
Right.
I liked it. You like being good at something. And then throughout high school, I had quite a bit of success with it.
Yeah.
Went to college on a scholarship. ended up getting a couple of degrees, and
What college did you go to?
I went to West Texas State University, which is now WT-A&M,
Okay.
North Texas, for a master's. And then after I got my master's degree and got married, I spent 5 years as a freelance musician, making my living professionally, playing and doing a lot of teaching. Ended up playing in some orchestras in Mexico City and in the Dominican Republic for a
Okay.
year as as the principal trumpet of the National Symphony Orchestra of the Dominican Republic. Those were good experiences for a young man.
Right.
And then came back from that, and actually was in 1992 called by SFA's School of Music looking for a part-time trumpet teacher.
Yes, sir.
So I'm the only guy I know at the university who's held every faculty position. I started as an adjunct. I drove here from Dallas 2 days a week to teach,
Wow.
and ended up becoming a tenure track faculty member,
Right.
assistant, associate, full professor, became the director of the School of Music, and now the dean of the college. So, I mean, I don't know.
That's a journey.
I'm done there too. I'm not going any higher up than that. So, I mean, that's my background. Is,
Yes, sir.
you know, I was a trumpet player. That's what I wanted to do in life, was play the trumpet.
Right.
And had quite a bit of success with it, but found that teaching was really probably more of my calling than playing.
Okay.
But I got to do both, you know, working here, teach young people how to play, and
Were
but
you
also
the
got to do a lot of playing.
Were you the first family musician?
That's a good question. When I grew up, my dad played guitar and bass and a little piano, and sang in a local band in my hometown. They played country and 50s rock and roll. And
Okay.
he was kind of a local. He was kind of known for his musical prowess, but he taught himself how to play guitar.
Okay.
And played in a band for years. But neither of my parents were ever in like an organized musical organization.
Right.
But all through I'm the oldest of three, and I and my younger sister and brother all played in band, and we all loved it and did it all through. My brother ended up being a high school band director too. So,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
That's exciting. What are some of your personal interests and passions, both within and outside of the arts?
Yeah, well, very interested in music as a
Yes, sir.
listener. As a listener, I enjoy music, and
Favorite
I
genre?
mean all kinds. Well,
Okay.
again, you're into favorites for some reason.
Hey,
you like to
you-
pigeonhole yourself.
You have to.
I've got a doctorate in to dumb it down. I've got a doctorate in classical trumpet playing.
Okay.
Yet I played a ton of and taught a lot of jazz.
Yeah.
But I live my wife and I own 5 acres that I've got to mow every week. And I'll wear headphones, and a friend drove by and said, I saw you out there mowing with those headphones. He goes, what symphony were you listening to? And I said, I was probably listening to Rage Against the Machine and Metallica.
Right.
Red Hot Chili Peppers. You can't mow a lawn, man, to Miles Davis or Mozart. You got to have something to keep your interest.
Right.
I listen to really all kinds of music.
Okay.
And enjoy it a great deal, all of it.
Yes,
So
sir.
it's hard for me to say I have a favorite.
Okay.
My wife and I were in college in the 80s, so we're kind of big on that 80s kind of new wave stuff,
Yes, sir.
Duran Duran and, the Motels. We like stuff like that too, so.
I wasn't alive then.
You don't
I
know what I'm
can't-
talking
Yeah.
about. You don't even know what I'm talking about. That's okay.
Okay, so outside of the arts, what else are you interested in?
I'm a giant fanatic of golf. I play a lot
Okay.
of golf poorly. I mean, a good thing I don't have to put food on the table with it.
Right.
But it's the only thing I do in life that for 4 hours I don't think about anything else. It's too hard. Golf's too hard to think about anything else. So I
Right.
like that a lot. I like sports. I'm a sports fan.
Yes, sir.
And I like movies. I like my animals. Of course, love family and the things you do with family.
Do you have a dog?
We do have a dog.
Okay, what kind?
Well, we have this little fat sausage of a Chihuahua named Chipper.
Okay.
And she's 115 years old and going strong.
Yes, sir. 115 years, dog years. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Hey, that's still a long time.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and dive into the career. What is your vision for the Fine Arts Department at Stephen F. Austin State University, and what are some of the key initiatives you're working on?
Well, this college it's been very successful for a long time.
Yes, sir.
SFA's enrollment has been really, even though it's a thing that's a constant topic of conversation at SFA,
Always.
wanting the enrollment to, we're always looking for it to grow. You know, there are administrators and at the highest level have a target number in mind. I'm not saying what that is, but certainly it's always more than what you've got.
Right.
And in the last 30 years, you can look and see that in a way, SFA's enrollment's been pretty flat for 30 years. We're not really suffering, but we haven't ever gotten a lot bigger. But the College of Fine Arts has grown exponentially in that 30 years.
Yes, sir.
I can speak very specifically about the School of Music, not because it's my favorite, Musa, but because I'm having come out of there, I just know the most about it,
Right.
you know, from memory. But I can tell you that when I got here in 1992, we had about 180 music majors and about 16 faculty members, including adjuncts. And in 1919, in the fall of 2019, right before COVID hit, the School of Music had 495 music majors and about 65 faculty and staff.
Oh, wow.
Now, compare that to 180 and 16 from, you know, a little less, or right about 30 years earlier. And you see the kind of growth that school had enjoyed. And the truth is, theater and art were very parallel to it, which, you know, we just moved into a new fine arts building last year.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a fantastic facility. And that growth in that college is what made the argument for the need for that building.
Okay.
Right? So when you think about the fact that the enrollment at the university had been rather flat for 30 years, the fact that there was this exponential growth in our college helps you see how we kind of bucked the trend.
Yes, sir.
And why is that? What's the main, now, you know, you could tell me you're a student, but I believe I've been pretty in touch with higher ed for many, many, many years. And with 3 degrees of my own, not to mention being an employee at a university for 33 years. I think the number one reason students choose a university is, do they have a good program in what I want to study?
Yeah.
And then it comes, and you know, how are the faculty? How's the curriculum? How are the facilities?
Yes.
And then can I afford to go there?
Yes.
Right. I mean, I think those are the top 2 things. You know, and we love to say, well, you know, the campus here is beautiful, and it is, right?
Right.
But is that why you came here? Did you come here because you like pine trees? Probably not.
Right.
You came because you're I assume are you a radio and TV
Yes,
major?
mass communication major.
Yeah, so you're mass comm because you know this program is good and they have great faculty and you want to learn from them.
Yes, sir.
Well, the growth in the College of Fine Arts tells you about the programs.
Right.
We have no shortage of students who want to study the fine arts here. We have many, many applicants every year. In some cases, more than we can accept, which is a kind of a rarity at SFA.
Okay.
You know, students in most of our disciplines have to audition to even get in.
Right.
You can't just apply to be a music major. You have to audition and be accepted to be a music major,
Yes,
or a
sir.
theater major, or a dance major. In art, they're not quite as stringent, but they used to have portfolio submission reviews.
Yes, sir.
And for COVID, they kind of lightened up on that, but they're about to go back to that. And so there's a screening process to even get into the programs, and yet the numbers are very high,
Yeah.
which tells you that a lot of good students wanted to get in and did. You know, you kind of have to prove yourself a little bit
Right.
by putting your craft out there. We don't just look at a transcript. We go, let me hear you play.
Right.
Let me see you act. Let me see you dance, right?
Yes,
Let me
sir.
see what you drew, painted, or sculpted, right? So back to your question about vision. Well, first of all, I just want to be, as the dean, what I'm trying to do always is appeal to everyone who has their hands on the resources to give me, for this college, as much as we can get, hoping to eventually be resourced to where we can thrive instead of survive, right?
There you go.
You know, we've got obviously enough to survive because we're there. But what could we do if we were even more robustly resourced?
Yes, sir.
You know, if we had more scholarship money, we could bring in more, but even also better,
Right.
more qualified students. We could provide the students with the better experience. I think we provide them with a really good experience already, but with more, we can do more.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And so my vision for the college would be to help it become the very best version of itself.
Yes,
You
sir.
know, we want to graduate. I've said this for a long time. We want to graduate students that when they hit the market
Mm-hmm.
in whatever it is, that they're the very best first year employees in that discipline that you can find.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
you know what I see, why I say that is once you get any gig,
Mm-hmm.
you really learn how to do the job once you get there. Like you're not going to learn everything you need to know to be in the mass comm world
Right.
from classes.
Yes.
Teachers
True.
don't learn. We have very many music ed, theater ed, art ed. A lot of our students go out to be public school teachers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always told them, in many ways, we're just trying to doing what we can to help you get your first job.
Yeah.
Then you're going to start learning what it's really like when you're on the front line.
Yes, sir.
Right. So to me, if we can make our students be so good that when employers hire them,
Mm-hmm.
they're ready for the job, they go, man, when you need to hire a fill in the blank,
Right.
you want to hire a dance teacher, you want to hire a choreographer, you want to hire a technical director for a theater, a music teacher. Every time we hire somebody from SFA, man, they already know what they got to know.
Yes.
So that means next time you need one, you go back to that
Right.
well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my vision is what can we do so that when our students graduate, the world knows that's where you go to hire that person.
Yes, sir.
Right. And so to a large degree, that's my vision is what can I do to position faculty
Right.
so that they can position students
Mm-hmm.
to be ready for the world to encounter them as you were ready for what I needed you to be ready for.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the most challenging aspects of leading the fine arts division, and how have you addressed those challenges?
I don't know who listens to this, man. Who listens to this?
Well, right now
Do
we're
presidents
growing
and
that.
vice presidents listen
Not
to this?
yet.
Okay,
I've
all right.
put him on here, so I don't think
Okay.
he's too picky. Trust.
Well, I mean, what I'll say to you is what my boss has heard me say, right? You asked what the challenge is. You know, I don't think it's any secret that we don't have. I used to have a colleague who used to say this, and he was from Virginia, so he had a big old Southern accent. He was a great professor here. And he used to say, SFA ain't got no problem. A big pile of money wouldn't fit. And, you know, in a lot of ways, he was right about that. You know, we're not in any way in dire straits, but we can always use more resources.
Yes.
And so when you're in my boat, where you're looking around and you're seeing talented people working with talented students,
Right.
wanting to provide them with the experiences that make them what I told you about a minute ago. It's frustrating to see what you could do if you had the resources to do it, but you don't have the resources.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the challenge to me is finding those resources. Now, you know, you hope the university will provide them or the state will provide them.
Yeah.
There's 3 ways you get money at a university, right? You give us your money,
Right.
by way of tuition and fees.
Yeah. You're already taking a lot of that, man.
It's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it when you're a millionaire podcaster. And then, you know, so we get money from the students directly. We get money from the state.
Yeah.
And then there's donors.
Mm-hmm.
There's money you get through development and advancement. And we're pretty blessed with that in the College of Fine Arts. We've had some terrific benefactors. The late, and you see their name around this campus everywhere.
Yes,
the
sir.
late Ed and Gwen Cole were very good to the College of Fine Arts.
Mhm.
Left a nice endowment that gives me some resources that honestly the deans before me in the college didn't have.
Okay.
And I'm blessed by that. And then of course our local businessman Bill Elliott,
Right.
who endowed the college and named it after his deceased wife Mickey.
Okay.
Uh,
More history.
he made one of the largest donations in the history of at the time it was the largest donation to the university.
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure he wouldn't mind knowing that now it's not the largest because you want people giving big ones.
Yeah.
But it's, I think, still maybe the second largest donation ever to the university. And the proceeds from that go to fine arts scholarships.
Mhm.
So these are resources that are available to me as dean and the college, the faculty, staff, and students of the college that are fairly recent
Okay.
and that provide great resources. So we're doing well in that regard. We're always lobbying to the university
Right.
to give us a bigger share of the pie, understanding that the pie is only so big.
Right.
But back to the question, the more resources I have and the more efficient I am at utilizing them, the more responsible I am with them, the better the programming can be, the happier the faculty and students will be, the
Okay.
more they like being here.
Yes, sir.
So the challenge is being fiscally responsible, among other things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make it all about money, but it's a challenge to be to provide everybody they want
Right.
when they want it, so that they can be the best they can be. I mean, that's probably my biggest challenge.
Yes, sir.
But you know, the College of Fine Arts right now is actually, and this is pretty good news on this day today.
Okay.
The College of Fine Arts is only 8 people shy of our all-time high enrollment.
Oh, yeah.
We're doing really, really well in enrollment right now. But so, you know, that's we have 970 students enrolled right now and about 105 faculty and staff.
So, sub question.
Yeah.
With the connection to UT, do you feel like you're going to break that 8 students short?
Oh, we're not going to get there this year.
Right.
Not in the second or third week of classes. We're not going to add more students.
Yeah.
We'll get there. If not next year, we'll get
Mhm.
there. When I don't think we're far away from breaking 1,000.
Okay.
And I don't know if I really, in a way, you know, you sit here as dean and you want the number to get higher and higher, but you're also wishing everybody would work more and more. So, you know, I mean,
Yes.
as the resources come, the resources not just being money, but
Mhm.
faculty members and staff.
Right. Right.
And we certainly have the facilities now, and for most of our disciplines,
Mm-hmm.
to grow, and that's good. That's part of the reason you get them is
Yes,
they give them
sir.
to you, and then they slap you on the back and say, "Now get out there and fill these classrooms,"
Yes.
and we should. But so our enrollment's doing well, and but I think of you can think of running the college as kind of like this is a 1,000-piece puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm responsible for every piece of it in some way or another.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
now, you know, a faculty member might say, you know, they're concerned about their thing and they want to come
Right.
talk about it. And they're responsible for about 20 pieces of that puzzle. And to them, that 20 pieces are the most important part of the puzzle. Rightfully so, as
Right.
I was as a faculty member.
Yeah.
But the transition to becoming sort of the head of the fine arts pyramid
Mhm.
is I'm responsible for all 1,000 pieces of that puzzle.
Yes, sir.
And that's a lot of responsibility. I don't take it lightly. I don't, you know, and I read an article about being a good leader.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm wrong. I didn't read an article. We had a guest speaker here that
Okay.
was an alumnus of ours who was doing very well in the business world, owns some multi-million-dollar company somewhere. And he gave a really neat commencement speech.
Yes, sir.
And one of the things he said was, as a leader, he always tries to find a way to say yes. And that
Interesting.
meant something to me. I think that probably wasn't my nature originally.
Right.
But it's like if somebody comes and says, can you resource me for this? Is there support for me to do this thing with my students or as a researcher or as a creative artist? That I try to sit back and go, how can I find a way to say yes to this?
Right.
I'm not saying I always do.
Right.
The possibility to say yes isn't always there. But if I can find a way to say yes to more things,
Mm-hmm.
more pieces of that puzzle are pleased with their situation,
Okay.
or at least a little more pleased, right? And so the challenge is, if we boil down your question about what are the challenges of running the college, it's how do you find a way to say yes
Mm-hmm.
to more reasonable requests anyway. And some things you got to say no immediately, right? But mostly, how can you find a way to say yes when
Yes,
a
sir.
student or a faculty member or staff member has an idea that they feel like is going to prove fruitful in some way, artistically, academically, you know, whatever.
Man, Dr. Gary, it seemed like you really thought this out, and that's exciting to hear.
Well, I'm
that.
old.
That's exciting to hear. What recent development or opportunities in the fine art department should students and faculty be excited about?
Oh man, there's so many.
Okay.
So I mean, everybody is excited, and it's still a recent development moving into this facility.
Yes.
I mean, that for the university to build
It pops, boy.
well,
It pops.
for the university to build a $53 million building
Mm-hmm.
is a big commitment. I remember I was interviewing. Well, again, this is only my third year. I'm going into my third year as the full-time dean.
Yes, sir.
I spent 1 year prior to that as interim dean. And it was in that year that I interviewed to be the dean.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the only guy in the country that got to interview for a year. So that worked out well for me. But in my interview with the search committee, and I get it, but one of the faculty members who was from the College of Fine Arts that was on that committee had a look of concern on their face, and they asked me this question. Or they started with sort of a statement before the question. The statement was, uh, uh, things don't look good for arts in Texas. I mean, legislatures are cutting funding and kind of painted a gloomy picture and then
Right.
said, if you want to be, I mean, what is your thought on the future of the fine arts at SFA?
Art can't go
And,
anywhere.
and I went, well, but there's a $53 million building right there. I mean, you have a hard time questioning SFA's commitment to the arts
Yeah.
while they're in the middle of putting up a $53 million building.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that building tells us SFA wants us to be here forever.
Yes, sir.
And they want us to be good. So that's a good thing. So first of all, back to your question, what should a recent development that people should be getting excited about? Well, it's continuing to realize what this building offers us. And I was here when we built the music building.
Yes, sir.
Back in like 1995.
Okay.
And I can tell you, I've seen a number of buildings go up around here. And it's rare that when you finally get in the new building, what you think is, man, this is everything we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you get in, like, this is cool, but I sure wish we would have gotten that extra whatever.
Yep.
And not every faculty member or student would agree with what I'm about to say, but from my perspective, this is about everything we could have hoped for.
You're right.
It's really a fantastic building, and that's because
multi-purpose, yeah.
The Board of Regents that was in place when that building was approved and that were in charge of funding it along the way, they had one number in mind. They started with a budget of, I think it was $34 million. And by the time we planned the building, there was just no way we were going to get what we needed for $34 million. And they went out and found an additional $17 million. So another 50% and put that into the project too. Without that extra funding, this building would be a shell of itself.
Right.
But they did it. And they committed that funding. And the result is something that really is going to serve us well for a long time. And of course, right now is serving us beyond anything imaginable.
Absolutely.
Prior to this. So I'm going to talk about another event coming up since you asked about something to be excited about. And it happens a week from tomorrow.
Okay.
But one of the things that I wanted to do that there was clearly no plan for moving into the new building.
Yes, sir.
Was what were we going to do about having some beautiful artwork in the building? There was no plan for that.
Okay.
And you know what might typically happen, and imagine how insulting this would be, okay, is somebody like me, some administrator, goes up to a bunch of art faculty and go, hey, what kind of art you have laying around you wouldn't mind loaning me to hang up in the building? What an insult. We hire these terrific artists that are our faculty member, teachers, artists that are known all over the place for how great they are, to go ask them if they might donate something or loan it to us for a while. And so there's a long story that goes with this that I'm going to not go into, except that a retiree from the School of Art came to see me.
Yes, sir.
And he told me about a state law that he called the 1% law. And that's not really what it's called, but it turns out that in the state of Texas, for any state-funded building project that exceeds $250,000,
right,
up to 1% of the budget for that building can be spent on public displayed art as part of the project budget.
Yes, sir.
And so this man, Gary Parker, told me about that. He made a meeting just to come tell me that. Of course, this is a retired guy who didn't know me very well, and he walked in and said, there's this law where you should be able to get this much money for art. And he goes, what are you going to do about it?
Hey.
And I thought, yeah, what are we going to do about it? So I went to project management.
Right.
And I said, hey, I need some money out of the budget to buy some art with. Now, keep in mind, we were about 3 years into a 4-year project. So the budget was already budgeted and there was no budget for art. But they found some for me anyway. Not 1%. 1% would have been $500,000.
Right.
But since I came to them pretty late with a request, they did find some money.
Right.
And what I wanted to do is begin to build a permanent collection, buy artwork to hang in the building.
Yes, sir.
And although my vision isn't that this is the the definition of this collection forever, I wanted to begin the Mickey Elliott College of Fine Arts Permanent Art Collection by celebrating our own faculty artists.
That's exciting.
Current faculty, former faculty that might be retired or have moved to another university, or even deceased faculty who taught here for a career. And so I assembled a committee of people. So you get a committee together so nobody can blame you for anything. You just go, those guys made this.
Right.
And so I got a committee of qualified people together, and we asked the faculty artists to submit some pieces that they would sell us.
Yes, sir.
With that budget that we had acquired from the project. And we ultimately ended up buying, I think, about 50 works. Well, buying, or along the way, interestingly, people in the community found out we were doing it, and they'd say, I'd like to donate a piece.
Okay.
I have this piece that was painted by this faculty artist that I bought 20 years ago, but we've downsized and don't have room for it. I'd like to donate it. So we acquired a few pieces by donation. It also turned out the college owned a few pieces that were just in files and not exhibited. And so between the pieces that we owned and the donated pieces and the pieces we purchased, we've put together an initial beginning of the collection of about 50 works.
Yes, sir.
By 33 artists. Now,
that's a blessing.
you may have, right out here in front of our building, you see a big yellow geometric sculpture.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, well, but it was commissioned, so we paid an artist money to create that.
Okay.
And so that's a new and beautiful and stark addition to the campus.
Yes, sir.
Right? I mean, your eye can't miss it.
You can't miss it, yeah.
And we just last week installed a piece. Have you seen the pink piece on the back on College Street entrance? So
I don't think so.
We've got 3 external sculptures. We bought these pieces from paintings.
I've seen the little robot one.
Yeah,
on the
that's
side.
right. That's named Sally Brown. It was created by Professor Lauren Selden. We also bought a sculpture by an artist from the Caddo Nation. Her name is Raven Half Moon. And Raven Half Moon is an artist who has really risen in national acclaim across the nation. She deals at this point only out of galleries in New York City, Los Angeles, and Santa Fe.
Yes, sir.
She's been featured in Vogue magazine, and we felt like it was appropriate that we look into purchasing a piece from her, a resident of the Caddo Nation.
Yes, sir.
So we have this beautiful sculpture by her in the building, alongside the things that our own faculty created. So next week, Thursday, September the 12th.
Okay.
Starting at 6 in the evening, maybe 6:30. I'm not looking at my calendar.
Yes, sir.
We've invited the campus community, the town community. We've mailed out to patrons in Dallas and Houston and everywhere else. But we're doing our introduction of the Mickey Elliott College of Fine Arts permanent collection with a big hors d'oeuvres and beverages, and we've created a publication to go with it.
Yes,
and we're very excited about having the public come and say, this is the beginning of our new collection. And then over the future, for ad infinitum, for the rest of the history of the college,
yes,
I hope I and all future deans find ways to continue to add works and find new places. There's plenty. Once I got into it, this became one of the most fun things I've ever done. And again, I'm a musician, but I love visual arts. Again, my daughter's an art major. And I got to where I had to slow my roll a little bit because I was trying to fill up every space in the building.
Oh,
you know, I mean, and I thought, well, leave some room for the future, right?
Yes.
But some really fantastic artworks. I hope you'll come look at it.
Absolutely.
Of course, it's open every day, so they're out there hanging in the hall. But I felt like we hit a home run when some of the faculty from the art school came to me and said, you know, this place is starting to look like a gallery. That means something. You know, it looks like a museum. One of them told me, this looks like an art museum.
Yes, sir.
Well, that means we've done something over there that gives people something to look at. It's a beautiful space now filled with beautiful artwork and created by the people who are teaching our students. And I'm excited to have been a part of it. But mostly I celebrate the artists who created it. So that's an event coming up that I think everybody should be very excited about.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you sharing that, Dr. Wurtz. Final question. What advice do you have to offer students and aspiring artists who are pursuing a career in fine arts?
This one is easy for me. I say it at every orientation, every time I meet new students. And so I'll tell my story here. And every fine art student has heard it, and their parents.
Okay, our turn.
But when I wanted to major in music, my parents didn't get to go to college.
Right.
So I'm a first gen. And but they were real supportive in my brother and sister and I doing whatever we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I was good at math and science in high school, and my dad really wanted me to be an engineering major. But man, all I could think about every day was playing the trumpet. I really wanted to play the trumpet.
Yes, sir.
And so he said, well, then do that. I was sitting there with my dad talking about college. I said, I want to play the trumpet. He said, well, do it. And I said, but Dad, even I know there's more trumpet players than there are places to play trumpet for
Right.
a living. And maybe it's not such a good idea. And my dad told me the best thing I've ever heard from anybody ever, even though I have 3 degrees from renowned professors. He said, well, then, I guess you better be a real good one.
Mm.
And he said, if you're good enough, the world will make a space for you.
Yeah.
And he goes, did you hear what I said to you? Boy, I didn't say there's always room for another one, because there's not. But if you're good enough at something, the world will make a space for you.
Yeah.
And that drove me from that day on. I knew I had, I would probably say, better than average talent, but I
Mhm.
wasn't a virtuoso, you know.
Yes, sir.
And so I knew that I couldn't necessarily have an impact on the amount of talent I had, but what I could control was my work ethic.
Yes, sir.
I could outwork you. I may not be more talented than you,
Mhm.
but I could outwork you.
Our work
And
beats
my
talent,
advice to
talent-
students,
Yeah.
every one of you, is this. You got to get out there and outwork everybody.
Yes, sir.
I don't care what you want to do for a living. This is a big world, and it's going to be competitive.
Mhm.
So if you really want to do something that's a little out of the ordinary or a little risky, you better be doing things every day that are going to put you at the top of the applicants
Yes,
list.
sir.
So that, in other words, for you to want to go make a living doing this,
Yes, sir.
that that would be an extraordinary accomplishment. And if you want to accomplish extraordinary things, are you putting forth an extraordinary effort every day?
Yeah.
Because if the effort you're putting forth is common, like it's what everyone's doing,
Mm-hmm.
why would you elevate to the top?
Right.
You better be extraordinary. What are you doing every day, Musa,
Yes, sir.
to stand out among a crowd of applicants for a job? What are you doing?
Oh, man.
So that's my advice for students is work every day so that when the day comes that you're trying to rise to the top, you did.
Yeah.
You stood out.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Oh, man. Well, oh, man. We're going to talk about that after. Thank you,
Okay.
Dr. Wurtz, for joining us
It's been
and
my
sharing
pleasure.
your valuable insight into the world of fine arts. It's been inspiring to learn about your vision for the Fine Arts College at Stephen F. Austin. Remember, listeners, success is a field that starts with passion and perseverance. Subscribe to the Cheat Sheet and follow us on social media and stay connected. This is King Musa signing out. Stay encouraged as you stay creative and keep pushing forward.